What's up, guys? Welcome back to Echoing Theology. I'm excited for episode 18 of, like I said, Echoing Theology with a good friend of mine, Abigail from Vermont. What's going on, Abigail? How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Dale?
Good, good. So you're like I said, you're in Vermont. You're in Bear, Vermont, right?
Very.
Barry, Vermont. Yeah, see, okay, so um yeah. I've only been to Vermont three times and it was Burlington and then wherever the training was, I can't remember. Um,
Most of the time people call it bar, which is a ballet term, so you're closer.
Close enough, yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Has it started snowing yet in Vermont? Because we're recording this in
No,
November, so
no, it
not yet.
hasn't. No, there was a little flurry, few flakes like 5 weeks ago, but it has not snowed. No.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I actually saw my breath this morning in Texas,
Yeah,
so we're
yeah.
getting there. It's it was like 47 when we woke up this morning, so
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
about as cold as it'll drop here, though. So
Sweater weather,
yeah,
yes.
exactly. You know how it is.
Yeah.
Um, all right. So yeah, just I guess tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and that type of thing.
Mhm. Yeah, so my name's Abigail, and I went to college in Vermont. I've lived in Vermont my whole life. Went to Catholic school, public high school. Then went to another Catholic college and graduated in 2022 and became a Totus missionary, and then landed the job I have now, which is a parish catechetical leader um, for a relatively small parish in Vermont, probably one of the biggest, but it's small. Um, and yeah, this is going on my third year, so psyched for what comes next.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's good. And I like that you said it's relatively small, but one of the biggest probably. Just like that just
Yeah.
summarizes New England. Unless you're talking about like Boston, like that aside,
Yeah.
and maybe
Yep.
Hartford that aside, like yeah, that kind of summarizes it.
Yep.
Um, yeah. So if you guys are listening in on this episode, if you hear a lot of like New England banter, just bear with us because we're New Englanders. It's just what it is.
Mhm.
Um,
We have a language
yeah,
of our own.
that's exactly lobster and
Yeah.
all those good things, the wicked good
Yeah.
things. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, you said you're a PCL. Uh,
Yeah.
so
Yep.
what does that entail like at your placement at your not placement but at
Mhm.
your job? What does that type of
Mhm.
job description look like?
Good question because I didn't get one, and most of the people here did not. So we make it up as we go. Um, at my parish, the parish catechetical leader or whoever's in my position will facilitate religious ed. So that is, sending out reminders about class through email. We used to do it through the actual mail. um, but since I've been working here, everything's done through Flocknote, which is Christian, maybe even Catholic um, communication system, free to us because we're so small and we don't have over 40 families in
Yeah.
religious ed. Part of that is because we have a school, but so that's another thing is uh, helping the school kids, so second and sixth grade, um, meet milestones to be able to receive the sacraments, first reconciliation, first communion, and confirmation. I also do communication and advertising for the parish youth group, which is grades 7 to 12. Um, and that, I co-run it with the parochial vicar, which frequently changes. But that's okay because they're there for God. So and then another thing that I do is I put on little performances. So Christmas pageant, the Stations of the Cross, they act that out. Various other small things, All Saints Day party, um, and yeah. So we just finished our parish mission yesterday. We
Hmm.
haven't had that in a few years. although I didn't have any part in organizing that, I did, try to get the religious ed kids to go and make them aware of it. And yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so it
Mm.
sounds like you do everything except say mass pretty much, right?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
feels like it sometimes.
Um, no, that's awesome. No, that's
Mhm,
good. That's good that you're really learning a lot of that experience in ministry.
mhm,
Um, and I think one good thing about ministry jobs is for the most part, not every job, but I think for um, a lot of that job can translate into other jobs outside of ministry. I don't want to just make this sound like
mhm,
everybody who does some time in ministry has to always be in ministry. That's not what I'm saying. Um, Actually, I'm saying the opposite of like you can take that job description and you can really apply it to other things. Like, I don't know, you have to deal with people all the time, which really means that
mhm.
you're like, you have to get good at PR, right?
Yeah,
Like public
yeah.
relations. Like, you have to. Um, when you're kind of in your position, you're dealing with kids and parents on potentially sensitive topics.
Mhm,
Uh,
mhm.
you're learning HR at that point. So,
Yes,
like,
yeah, true.
you really gotta, do that. And when you have a budget, you gotta learn to budget and manage. And yeah, so I think ministry is a really good job uh, for
Mhm,
somebody to take and maybe keep doing ministry, but like, maybe apply it to something
mhm.
else. Yeah.
Right, yes, definitely. If I get another job anywhere, I will definitely have skills from this job that will transfer. There's
Yeah.
so many, on marketing, communications. I'm uh I even communicate with a food shelf to and the Catholic Daughters, and I um try to get all the info out to religious ed so that
Yeah.
they're connected to the parish.
Hmm.
um yes, also HR. There's a lot of parents that come to me and they're angry about this or angry about that, and um have to manage that as charitably as I can.
Yeah.
And I'm no theologian, so if they have questions, I have to pass them off to
Yeah.
one of the priests. Yeah.
No, that's good. You know your strengths, you know your limitations, and those are good things, it's better to kind of know those things and humbly tell people when you
Hmm.
need to, rather than trying to make something up on the spot,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
that can do more damage. Um, so yeah, you said you've been in ministry like this job for about 3 years, and I met you, I think, right before you took that job.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
Summer of 2022. Yeah.
2022. Yeah. So
Mhm.
what convinced you to get into that role, or what convinced you to get into ministry, I guess, in the first place, and this job in particular?
Mhm. Well, when I was a senior in college, I began working at St. John Vianney as a uh, assistant youth minister. Um, and I figured out what a youth group could look like: games and discussion, lessons, all that. Um, but I wasn't, hands on. Like, I wasn't planning anything. I wasn't coordinating anything. I wasn't doing communication. I just showed up. And then once I graduated, Totus, someone from St. John Vianney, which is probably half an hour or an hour away um, from where I am now.
Mhm.
Someone from St. John Vianney uh, convinced me to join Totus Tuus, and from there, I knew I wanted a job in the church in ministry, um, and I didn't know what that would look like. But 2 weeks into Totus Tuus, I was at my home parish, and there the current deacon convinced me to take a job as a PCL. And I say convinced for each of these jobs
Mhm.
because at that point in my life, I wasn't like, yes, Lord, do what you want with my life. I was more like, that's a great opportunity, but I do not feel prepared.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the jobs I've taken have been not easy to accept. but they're all dreams, they're all jobs that I've dreamed of having at one point in my life.
Mhm.
So he's been immeasurably generous with me and just pushed me along, encouraged me through various people, the messages of various people and people who love me. So,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah. So you talk about your experience with Totus Tuus, and I wanted to talk about this at some point, but I think we'll bring it more to the forefront now. Did your experience with Totus Tuus have any impact on you as far as like maybe I am called to go into ministry work, or or maybe did it just like challenge you, or I guess change you as a person? Like
Mhm.
was Totus Tuus impactful for you in any way, I guess is the question.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. It definitely shined a light on how much I didn't know about the faith. Um, and it was hard because I had been trying for years to learn about the faith, but I didn't know what Catholic culture was. So, despite being at a Catholic school, I wasn't able to understand or gather info on how to live Catholically, how to live like a Catholic. And therefore, I was, studying things, but I was studying not necessarily the most important things. So the saints, I didn't know any saints. I had never heard of Liturgy of the Hours. We never prayed it. At college, it wasn't popular, um, as well as, uh, what a parish is and how much goes into, you know, the as a culture, each parish has a little bit of a different culture, but they're all united in one faith.
Yeah.
So I didn't quite understand that when I joined Totus Tuus. So when I was traveling to all the parishes in Vermont, I was like, wow, these are all so similar, yet they have their own personality. And so I think um, I just learned a lot about what it is to be Catholic and what going forth I wanted to learn about in order to better serve the people that I serve now in this job as a PCL. Um, and I think it helped me that way. I also think it helped me to grow spiritually, like understanding what a prayer life is. Um, Not just saying Hail Marys here and there, but also like talking to God.
Mhm.
Um, and, I picked that up from Protestants a little bit along my college journey, but I
Sure.
still kept, prayers so sacred. And the Our Fathers and the Hail Marys, they matter. But at the same time, it is good to just talk to God sometime through rote prayer, but also like conversation.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of that in Totus Tuus, talking with other Catholics, but also talking, to God and communicating with the saints who are praying for us right now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's wonderful. That circle, I think is just wonderful. There have been several people on this platform that have, been interviewed from Totus Tuus. Obviously, you and I know we haven't gotten him yet. I don't know if we're gonna end up making it work, but I'm hoping to get Matt LaFountain. I'm calling you out
Mm,
on
mm,
this on
yes.
this. But you and I know Matt,
Mm,
from our experience. So
yep, he was on my
um,
team.
yeah,
Yeah.
he was on your team. Great guy.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Matt's a wonderful guy.
Yep.
He only gets better with more time you spend with him. So,
Yes. True.
um,
True.
yeah, no, that's great. So, I guess, what has been your favorite part, or what is the best part about ministry, like within your job?
Mm. I think it's I think it's this is going to sound so secular, but I think it's the power. I think it's the ability to be able to tell people what's going on, but also um, be be somebody that someone can go to if they need answers to questions.
Mhm.
So like I can, because of my position, I can communicate with the food shelf and the Catholic Daughters, and I can put myself out there to be able to unite all of these groups under my title, under my role. But also, being able to be humbled and be a servant with, everything that I do. So you know, taking a step down from, being coordinator, being leader, which parish catechetical leader, and being able to take a step down and go to, you know, the level of the parents and meet them where they are,
Mhm.
and be able to bring the faith to them rather than having to constantly, seek out new ways to teach their children, being able to provide that for them, um, but also co-educating the children. So um, I'm not a catechist, but I help the catechists.
Mhm.
And if they have an issue with what's in the curriculum, then, I'm able to do some research through, the diocesan catechetical leader's emails. He sends out great resources for us. And being able to bring those resources to the parents and to the catechists, and just having that God-given authority to be able to do all of these things, but also not just use this power and abuse it, but be able to serve through it.
Sure.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. No, that's really good. I've never heard it described that way, but I think you bring up a really, really good point. I also think you just gave us the title for the episode, so thank you for that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I guess maybe like how do you overcome within ministry? How do you overcome challenges like, for example, I think I've shared this on this platform before. And I'm not sure what your experience was with this, and feel free to talk about it or not. But um, I think one of the biggest adjustments when you start to work in the church or in a school or whatever is when you have to, or Totus Tuus, for example, even you have to learn to become comfortable with being a public person,
Hmm.
and that's very different when you're more of a natural introvert person
Hmm.
and a private person. So I guess maybe has that been an adjustment, or is that a challenge, or has there been a challenge in ministry, and how do you work through that?
Absolutely. Yeah, that was a huge challenge. Especially because I'm at my home parish where I've been all my life, baptized, first communion, first reconciliation confirmed, all of it was here.
Mhm.
So there are parishioners who have known me literally my whole life. And so to come back after college, after, not being here during the academic year for 4 or 5 years, then I came back post COVID,
Mhm.
which plays in a little bit.
It does.
Um, and I was able to meet people that knew me, but I didn't know them, knew my family. And when I was elevated to this position of PCL, a lot of people wanted to talk with me. A lot of people wanted to um, ask me what's up, and so I've kind of become more like a switchboard with uh, this fame. Like, people know that I'm connected with a school. They know I work here now. They know I know things about the church. So a lot of the questions that come to me, I have received more than once. So the first time I receive these questions, I get to figure it out somehow. And then through figuring it out, the second time the question is asked, I can, give them more info. So it's just collecting all the info or being able to pass this person off to a more, you know, reliable source. So, like, I am not the leader of the Catholic Daughters, but I know that they just put out an essay contest. So I would forward all questions to the person who just called me an hour ago. And she's able to connect with the school and connect with the church and religious ed through me. So there's a lot of things that happened in my first year where people were like, "Oh my gosh, I know you. You know me, don't you?" I'm like, "No, no, I don't know your name. I know your face, but let's get to know each other. Let's be friends. Let's do things. Let's go get coffee." Um, and being having a what do you call it? Headlight, uh, a light shining on me in my position is still not something I've gotten used to,
Oh, a
but
spotlight.
was that? Yes,
Spotlight.
spotlight. Spotlight, yes. It's still not something I've gotten used to. There's still, you know, where are the limits to what questions I should answer and what I should pass off. I know stuff that sometimes I shouldn't, share. So
Yeah,
I'm experimenting with that recently and not trying to push the boundaries, but trying to figure out where those boundaries are
sure.
and, putting limits on how much I can help so that people don't rely on me for things that aren't under my control. So yeah.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you for sharing that, because I think it's very easy, I think, in ministry to like, for a lot of people, I think it's very easy. Excuse me, I think it's really easy for people to almost overcompensate in ministry and
Mhm.
say, "Oh yeah, everything's great in ministry," and there are no challenges and this and that. But then you have the other side of people, I think, sometimes where we can just be very negative and say, "Oh, this isn't going right," or this or that, or yada yada yada. And so, really finding that balance of here's what's going well, but also here's a challenge. Um, I think is really humbling to admit, but also having those support systems in place
Mhm.
to help you overcome that is really good. Yeah. So I guess one of my last questions for you, and then we'll kind of hop into one other quick session. What advice would you give to someone who's thinking about participating in your type of ministry or Totus Tuus or applying to be a PCL?
Mm, yeah, that's a good question. Um, I think one piece of advice would be to know the basics of the faith before you enter into this job, because now people see you as a spiritual leader, and if you're not ready to lead, then perhaps taking a smaller job like an assistant to PCL or assistant to religious education director, even like shadowing for that job, I think that would be a great first step. um, but if the program you're going into is very well organized, there's stuff from previous DREs or previous PCLs, that you can work with to figure out what the schedule is and how to manage everything on the schedule, then go for it. But don't come into a job that is not prepared for you and that you don't know anything about.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's good. Definitely knowing your limits. Casting nets, I think, is good, right?
Hmm.
But casting nets in I don't want to say safe waters, but
Hmm. Hmm. Yes,
because
yes.
you don't want to set yourself up for failure.
Hmm. But at the same time, God will prepare you and He
Oh
will
yeah,
hold you,
for sure.
despite how hard it is, or, even if it's super easy, then He'll guide you to more challenging things so that you can grow.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I guess cast your net and
Yeah.
but prepare yourself as best you can. You
Hmm.
know, there was a quote by Coach Tom Coughlin. Not trying to bring up the New York Giants here, but I'm going to. He said and I'm going to paraphrase here, probably very loosely. Uh, Humble enough to prepare, prepared enough to dominate or win, or something to that effect.
Hmm.
Um, you want to prepare for the job that you're going into,
Hmm.
right? But you
You want
also,
to know what your job
but you
is.
should, if you know what your job is, then you can actually be good at your job,
Yes.
and
Yes.
you want to be good at your job.
Hmm.
Great. All right, so I have a few random questions for you. I'm just going to ask you, and notice I didn't send you that list,
Yeah.
and it's just kind of rapid fire. All right,
Totally.
you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Oh my gosh. Chocolate chip cookie dough.
Favorite book?
Uh, the Bible.
Favorite
Actually, the
gospel?
catechism. Go go with that
Catechism.
one.
Okay. Current favorite gospel?
Matthew. Yeah.
Favorite board game?
Probably Monopoly. Yeah.
Favorite food?
Uh oh my gosh, it's a uh mozzarella sticks.
Love it.
Yeah.
Favorite study place for undergrad?
Uh the nest. We had a nest at St. Mike's and it was elevated. It was probably the highest point on campus.
Okay.
And I love
It
studying
was the
rural
summit
places.
of campus.
Yes.
Yeah. Favorite scripture, current favorite scripture passage?
Uh Romans 12:2, I think, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And controversial one. If you had to get rid of a state in New England and replace it with some other state that's not New England, which would it be?
Vermont.
You would get rid of
I would
Vermont?
replace
Okay.
Vermont. I would get rid of it. And I would um replace it with uh gosh, I don't know. Probably Nigeria. That would
Yeah,
be cool. I mean, I know they don't have great government, but if they came here, I think they could. They're hardworking people.
fair enough. All right. So, yeah, Abigail, before we kind of wrap this up, do you have any last uh, advice, any last words that you want to share with our viewers here?
Mhm. Yeah, just go. Just go. Just do it. If you feel like something is too challenging, because it will help. It will help you know your limits. And um, if you crash and burn, wow, that is such a blessing. Because then you know not to do that again. And then you have a whole idea of what to do next. So,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, lessons are really important,
keep going.
finding them.
Hmm.
Well, Abigail, thank you for joining us here on this episode. Guys,
Hmm.
this episode will air on Monday. I believe it's going to be posted Monday. We're recording right now on the 21st, and so this will be posted on the 25th. Yeah, which is Monday of Thanksgiving week. So then we're going to take the rest of that week off. Um, Actually, no, we're going to post another video Wednesday, and then we're going to take about a week off. So, Abigail, thank you for joining us. And if you just want to hang tight here for a minute, I'm going to close this up, but we can stay on. So,
Yep.
all right.
Thanks.
All right, guys. See you soon.